All right, so I'm gonna make a some short video here about Friday's session in the ES. Someone messaged me asking, that had some difficulty with it being a down day, and they were unable to identify the bearish nature of the day, and instead they were doing longs instead of shorts, and so ended up losing money and asking me, what what to look at or how to see what MBox is saying that um, what is the side of the bias, and usually it's people get emotional and that causes confusion and then the fear of missing out and then just making bad trade decisions. Okay, the indicators will always show you the condition of the market, and you can read the bias of it as well, but it can't help you deal with your emotions or interpreting based on that or hope or things like that, right? I look at objective analysis, and so that's what we're going to do right now. uh, so I brought up the ES. This is the 1 minute chart. I trade off the 1 minute. A good way, I would say, to check what the trend is or what it's kind of looking like is to zoom out, right? If you really want to see the trend, zoom out or change time frames, right? Even if we, zoom out, and we had a bearish day on Thursday, after markets sort of ranged, and then around 9 o'clock here we started going down. So that's pre-market open, but we had a FOMC news going on. So that's kind of what triggered this down move here. But the first thing I would say is, okay, we've had a down day previously. We ranged during the overnight, and now we're breaking down again, right? So we're going down again. There's nothing bullish about that. Okay, so I would not be looking for long trades unless there was a change in behavior. Okay, and there is a point here that I would consider or could see a long trade happening, and I'll explain that as well. So that's first technique. If you want to stay with the trend, zoom out, look overall. Where is price moving? Overall, previous day was down, we range, and now we're going down again. That that ain't bullish, right? So I would not be looking off the bat for a long trade. Okay, another technique, zoom out again using a different chart period, 5 minutes, right? So if we zoom out on the 5 minute chart, and this is Friday's session right here, right? Um, we had this huge selling block right here, okay? It didn't exceed the previous day, but it's substantial enough, right? Uh, again, that's not bullish, right? I would not be looking for longs after that happened. The other thing is that if you've got the M auto floor ceiling indicator loaded, you'll notice that for Friday, we didn't make one ceiling line on the 5 minute chart, right? So you want to see the trend, zoom out, look at a higher time frame. We see we only made floors, right? And lower floors, lower floors, lower floors, right? So for price to go up, it needs to make higher ceilings and higher highs, right? When those lines don't draw, it means there's a lack of interest. For example, here we had a floor. Price came up here, but there was no ceiling. So one of the requirements for a ceiling is there needs to be enough volume. There needs to be enough interest at this price level. So on the 5 minute chart, there was no interest here on the side of demand for there even to for a ceiling to form, right? So it's like a failure here to attract interest, buying interest, demand interest, and price started to retreat, and we retreated back. And if you saw it as such, this could be an excellent entry point. We failed to attract interest here, and price broke back down, and then we got the total control here of the bids. Okay, and then we had this huge selling block, an expansion of selling here in the cumulative delta. Price went down. We failed to attract interest here. Look, the same thing happened. We failed to attract interest here. No new floor. and price retreated and came back down, tested the first floor, and then came back breaking down through the second floor. So this is also interesting, is when a line gets retested, right? So we formed a second line, right? There was no third line. It came back up. We retested the first floor, retested, and then we broke, and then price returned back to the second floor. So it's like price has tested the previous floor, which was an area of high interest for selling, and we came back here. Okay, coming back here, retreating is bearish. Price came back in the direction it was originally going. This is a bearish signal right here and came down. Right, on the side of demand and buying, we had some buying here. By the time we hit this, this higher high compared to the previous wave, the buying had subsided. It went bloop. Okay, so on the 5-minute chart, there is nothing really bullish about it. Okay, in fact, look, we have an X pace here. On the offers, this looks climactic, but it does not accompany the buying, right? So the overall buying was good at this point, but in the MBox histogram, which is, shorter movements, it shows that it's already gone down substantially, right? So the overall was high, but the blow by blow, it's already dropped, okay? And then we get a 3 here, 3 here. Okay, that's low. All right, let's go back to the 1 minute because, well, that's I use for execution. All right, so at the top here, 8:55, we had a triple algo that was 5 minutes before the FOMC, and then price broke down. So if you were trading news and you saw this, and we formed this floor, and then we got the control of the bids, you could trade this, right? This is not a 10 plus points of confluence, but if you're looking for aggressive trades, you could trade this, and this trade would have worked out beautifully, coming down. We had here selling in the MBox histogram. We had in the cumulative delta strong selling. Okay, in the X pace, the bids here clearly outpacing the offers. All right, as price comes down, we see here it gets congested and it struggles. Okay, so this is important. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floor lines, and price fails. These 5 lines, floor lines, they failed because price retreats through them. Right. At the same time, we get accumulation here in the cumulative delta. We can see that. Okay, we need to pay attention that the overall selling here in the MBox histogram and in the cumulative delta, okay, we're on the decrease here. Okay, so we're getting a change of behavior, and then once the accumulation comes in, we can confirm the change in behavior. Okay, and we're also starting to get some buying in the MBox histogram. Okay, so that's starting to look change of behavior. Okay, so we contracted here, price, the thrust shortened, these floor lines failed, and it turned around, and then we got the other side flipped. We got the accumulation. Okay, we got the look at the X pace. Also, the offer pace starts to bid up. All right, and we turn around, and guess what? We get some ceiling lines here. Okay, so here it's a sort of, we're in a downtrend, clearly, and this is a change of behavior. Okay, we don't know. Price could have continued up and started an uptrend, but that didn't happen. Okay. Another way you can know that didn't happen is we didn't break this floor line here. Price never even reached here. In fact, at the end of this movement, we had a lower ceiling here. So lower ceiling is that the interest was at a lower price here. Okay, so that's not strong. You know, there's other things happening at the same time. Okay, by the time we reach this peak, you know, we get a huge drop here. Another thing I'll say, the in the cumulative, the you know, accumulation has flatlined here, has flatlined, and here's a divergence because look, we have this huge buying block here, but the overall buying has not increased. I mean, this is a huge buying block, right? This one is the biggest block out of even the selling or the buying for this entire day, and yet the overall buying has flatlined. So what does that tell us? Overbought here, right? And not coincidentally, there's a ceiling line, and after that we get a lower ceiling. And if we look at this, that the overall buying has not increased despite this climactic buying, that's not bullish, right? And then we get an X pace here, right, of the offers going up to this move, but you know the follow through is not there. The overall buying has not increased. In the end, we get a lower high, a lower ceiling, right? We drop from 259 to 115. Now, if you were looking at you know, long positions here, the only place I could have considered for this day was this change of behavior. Price got stuck here. We formed a ceiling line. We had the accumulation here, and you know, we had more buying. Let me get that here. We had another buying block here, and we have a pullback here. This is an okay place, okay, to go long, okay. If you missed that, maybe you would have gone long here, okay. But you know, you need to manage the trade accordingly, right? Because you know this movement is not too lucrative, ends up being, so you would need to manage it, right? And you know, the thing is that we formed the third ceiling line, and then guess what? Price retreats to the second one, then it retreats back to the first one. That doesn't look so pretty, right? So if you entered a position, at the minus 104 and minus 74, if you had not taken profits, right, by the time we hit here, and you could have made an argument to take profits because you know there's a decline in overall buying. Maybe you would have taken profit here at this spike, at this X control here. If not, price would have retreated here back to the initial ceiling. That signals that, hey, you know, this long position, if we're in one, is not as good as we thought. If we got in at the minus 104, minus 74, you could have exited breaking even or with some small profit if you would have stayed here, if you know, gotten out here. Or if you had gotten at the minus 74 and held on and price corrected, you know, eventually you go up here, you see it's climactic, you exit. Or if you don't see that, by the time you get here, the lower ceiling, you know, the buying falls, you exit. So what I'm trying to say here is that yes, there was some basis for going long here if managed properly. The trade would not have been a loser. It would even been some small profit or a break even. Okay. And then once this is over, okay, this is the only place I see, you know, a long. Okay. Everything else you're going against the odds, right? Because here we have confluence, okay? If you're an aggressive trader, once it begins failing these floors, you could have gone long here, okay? That's being aggressive because that's before we've seen the accumulation. If you manage properly, you could make profit there, all right? I tend to like to go with overkill of evidence, right? So I'm more moderate trader, right? I'm not overly conservative and I'm not overly aggressive, but it depends on your trading style. Some people like overly aggressive because maybe you'll take more trades and win less, but you'll make more. And then after the lunch here, we got a floor here. Second floor, price comes back to the first floor, retests it, breaks back down and returns to the second floor and breaks down through that. That is, you know, bearish because price retested the first floor. We drop back down and, you know, there's some money that could be made here, right? It's all about managing the trade afterwards. Okay. Then we get this is a lower ceiling compared to all of these previous ceilings, so there ain't nothing bullish about it. All right. And as we hit past 2 p.m., it's already Friday. I don't know, people are probably packing up to go home, but there's still a little bit of a drop here and a series of floor lines. All right, so the thing is, when somebody asks me, what do I look at MBox to show me what the trend is? I just showed it, right? So you have to be objective. There doesn't need to be anything subjective. It doesn't need to be feelings, emotions. Just be objective, okay? Price, dropped below the range here. That's bearish. That's not bold. That's objective. We had a lot of these floor lines. The ceiling lines never went above the previous floor lines. On the 5-minute chart, we only had floor lines. And there was some long opportunity here. It didn't, I wouldn't say it was a great one, but it would not be such a huge source of loss if read in context. And then, price continues going down. But overall, that was a good question because, sometimes it's not clear, and I encourage questions to be asked. So if something doesn't make sense, shoot me a message or an email. That's what we're here to do. We're here to learn. I'm not here to, criticize people or whatever, but this is a good learning experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and maybe there's something that could be learned from it. Bye-bye.